Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Werner Erhard says, ride the horse in the direction it's going. That is just an amazing statement. And I have with me here today Linda SAUGET, one of my favorite people in the whole entire world. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Dan. You're one of my favorite people,
Oh,
too.
Thanks. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. Thank you.
Well, I think everybody knows that Linda SAUGET is one of our columnists at Boomer Times and Senior Life. And, of course, I'm Dan Verity, the administrator at Boomer Times and Senior Life, filling in for ANITA FINLEY. And, Linda, your column for the January issue is entitled Momentum. And, my gosh, these times that we're, January for me so far, I know we're only in a few days, but I feel very uptight. How do you feel?
Well, I think that these are probably very strange times. And so a lot of people are feeling uptight. All of the turmoil that we've been through politically and just, all the current events. So
Right.
A lot of people are feeling uptight. And in some ways I am too.
Yeah.
But you know what? I would still say the quote that you started this conversation with, because you have to ride the horse in the direction it's going. We can't resist what is.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean that you are complacent, that you cannot still do things, but you can't resist. There's a difference between trying to make a difference, trying to do things that are possible to change situations while you accept them at the same time.
Right.
It
Yeah.
sounds antithetical, but it's not. So we have to accept that these are turbulent times.
Yeah.
And we just have to keep moving forward, accept what is, and then where we fit in terms of things that we can do to make it less turbulent, we do that while we're accepting what is. If that makes sense.
It does. I understand that because I kind of, when I find myself getting into a funk, the first thing for me is, and it's not always easy to do, but I first have to admit to myself that something's going on. I have to admit to myself so that my mind kind of throws that switch and I get into that mode that, okay, once you admit it, now we can move on to acceptance. And so you put it perfectly. These are strange times. And holy cow. So
I think when we don't accept what is, that prolongs the suffering. So I'm just a big proponent, even when you don't like what is, of accepting it, because you do at least achieve a more peaceful outlook. And when you're more peaceful, you're more resourceful, and you could figure out what your next step can be.
That's true.
You're always fighting and resisting and against something, and your mind is always playing the same tapes about what's wrong and what I don't like and what I wish was different. If you're going down that track, you don't have the same resourcefulness to get off onto a different track. So you just stay stuck in negative feelings, negative energy in your body.
Right.
And
acceptance does not necessarily mean that you're in agreement.
Exactly.
With things.
Exactly. That is very, very true. And I think that's the part that is so important for people to understand, because people think that when you accept something, then you're condoning it or you're in agreement with it. And it's the same thing with forgiveness. You can forgive someone, and that doesn't mean that you condone the action, you agree with the action, but it's really for yourself.
Right.
To not have all of that negative hatefulness and internal fighting in your mind and in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, you can accept things and not agree with it. You can forgive someone and not condone what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a hard concept. I came to that late in life. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I don't think that's something that we teach, or at least I wasn't taught
No.
that. But that is really such an important lesson for people to learn. A lot of positive results come from not fighting with what is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what you said about acceptance and forgiveness, it's something that you do for yourself.
Right.
Not another person, not about another thing. It's something that you have to do for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the healing can begin.
Exactly. I've seen things on TV where, maybe a child is murdered and you hear, the parents have forgiven the murderer. And then the conversation on TV is, well, how can they do that? How can you forgive? It has nothing to do with, accepting, condoning, thinking that it's right, not feeling the hurt, the pain. But forgiving lets you move on.
Right.
You can never move on from losing a child in one sense.
Of course not.
It lets you not get stuck in that chapter or that situation. That there's a momentum in life, but sometimes we stop it.
Yeah.
By resistance.
Right. Well, thanks for setting the record straight on that, because we watch the news and we see a lot of unpleasant stories, and it's true. You see these horrific things that happen to people, and you hear forgiveness and you hear people talk about it, but we really don't get any sense of concept when we're watching a news program or listening to sound bites, do we? That's
right.
Really something that we have to, that's left up to us. And, that sense of forgiveness and acceptance, that's something that you really have to, I have to say for myself that, you say what you do about getting older, but one of the most welcoming things for me about getting older is gaining more of a sense of wisdom.
True.
Isn't it really?
It really is.
I just am so grateful for that amazing sense of wisdom that I have about so many things that I really was very unsure about up until just, say, maybe a few years ago. And so for me, I am actually looking forward to my late 50s and what goes beyond.
And wisdom, I think, comes from experiences.
It does.
So, you just have to live life for, the longer you live life, the more experiences you have and the more opportunity you have to look and examine what the lessons are and what you can do with the experiences that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I see lessons in everything.
Yes.
Whatever is going on, whether it's a personal situation going on or something in the news, if you're alert to it, there's one lesson after another.
There is.
And that's how we develop and grow. And I'll tell you one that I just thought of yesterday, was in the news. Regardless of what side of politics people are on, I heard on the news that Hillary Clinton is going to attend the inauguration.
I heard that too.
And I can't think of anything in the world that could possibly be harder.
Right.
Watching your competitor be inaugurated President of the United States and be there for that ceremony that you were thinking and praying and working so hard that it would be you.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, and then I had heard that they were saying that this is important to show that we, in our democracy, there's a peaceful transition of power, and there's many, altruistic reasons to attend, because I'm sure that will have to be extraordinarily hard.
Yeah.
And for me, I looked at that as a lesson, like a role model when I'm in a difficult situation. how to rise above it and have grace about the situation,
right,
and not have, resentment, anger. She may have those feelings,
mm-hmm.
but she's rising above it
mm-hmm.
for the greater good of the country,
mm-hmm.
To show, the strength of our democracy, that no matter how tough things get, no matter how much you fight with a competitor, in the end, the people have spoken, they've elected a president, and everybody is going to be supporting that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And
anything that is going on is a lesson for us to look at.
It sure is. And, a large part of that ability is sort of changing your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it's about perspective, because you can't, everything's not all doom and gloom, but you have to kind of, I guess as the saying used to be, looking at things through rose-colored glasses.
Mm-hmm.
And, but as far as Hillary Clinton is concerned, she really is showing solidarity with the incoming powers that be in Washington, and that's really to be applauded.
Yep, I agree.
That's to be applauded without a doubt. Now, you started your column off this month with speaking about the Chinese, and they believe that water is the most powerful element in the universe because it keeps moving regardless of resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And, in Boomer Times, in the January issue, I did a short thing on, more of a factual thing on, this is the year of the red rooster, or the fire rooster. And I was completely fascinated in my research on Chinese astrology, and all the things that I learned through that was just things that I had no idea about. And, I know, as most folks know, Anita's been away for a little bit, but in filling her shoes, I've been able to find out all these wonderful things that I didn't know anything about before. But have you studied Chinese astrology at all, or what?
I have not. So
you have not.
I'm curious what the year of the red rooster is, or what you were just saying. What did you discover on that?
Well, the red rooster, the rooster itself is, I guess, is probably very similar to the Leo the lion. They have that kind of personality, and they're usually the life of the party, and very very successful in business, usually very well liked. They also boast a lot, and as such, sometimes get into fights with close friends because they have a tendency to think a lot of themselves. There were some predictions that were made for 2017 that I won't go into because they're kind of a little scary in a way, but it was just fascinating what I was able to learn on all of that, and it certainly opened my eyes to all the things that you discuss in your own book, If You Think It. And is there going to be a sequel to that?
Well, speaking of
not a sequel or a part two.
Really, what I would like to do, I've been doing a monthly column for Boomer Times.
You have?
October of 2012.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit before my time, but...
Yes, and so eventually I would like to compile all of the columns and have that be a book, because the columns are about 250 words, which is short enough to not be a huge commitment of time to sit down and read,
right?
Like reading a book.
Yeah.
But it's short enough to be able to get what I hope is an encouraging, inspiring, optimistic message, because that's what I try to do in each of my columns. And so I'm just picturing a book with compiling all of these columns, like one column on a page. So I have a lot more to write yet before I think I have enough pages to fill a book. But that's what I would like to see.
This is a great idea. And it's true, like you said, each column would fill one page, and so that you can pick it up anytime you want and put it down anytime you want. You can read a page or two in the morning just to get your day started, get some inspiration. What a great idea, Linda.
Oh, well, thank you. And
Yeah.
I like, I myself I like short things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I always have different things that I pick up that are very short, maybe a quote, maybe a thought of the day, every day to start my day. It's part of my ritual, my morning routine, and I may look at things throughout the day, but I always like to start my day with something positive. So I'm picturing my book being that someone could sit down and read a brief, powerful, hopefully, encouraging, inspiring message.
Right, absolutely. It could even be, you could even have the pages dated for a specific day of the year or, whatever. But
Yeah.
That's a terrific idea. If there's any way that I can help you with that, I would be, my gosh, that would be an honor to do that.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, my gosh. Well, we're talking to Linda Sauget, and she is the author of If You Think It. And you can get a copy of this book. I'm just noticing something here because I have a copy of your column in front of me for the January issue. We need to put your website down there because that's really important. Oh, my goodness. Well, see, one of my jobs at Boomer Times, among many, is a proofreader. So I just did part of my job for January was we got to make sure that we have your website there, which is www.ifyouthinkit.com.
Correct.
Right? And they can get a copy of your book on that site. Is that correct?
On that site or on Amazon.com
Amazon.
or BarnesandNoble.com or
great.
any search engine that, sells books. But, yeah, and on my website there's a direct link to purchase a copy as well.
Oh, good. And that again, that's ifyouthinkit.com. And we also provide your email address.
Correct.
So that people can write you directly, which is LSauget, that's SAUGET 99 at AOL.com. And so, it's a new year, new time, new beginning. Pick up a copy of Linda's book because this is a great way to set the tone for the coming year with a lot of positivity and a lot of lessons about acceptance and forgiveness, things that we've discussed. And so what are you looking forward to in 2017, Linda?
Well, that's an interesting question.
Besides the Boomer Expo.
Besides the Boomer Expo. I know that it's kind of interesting because I feel probably like a lot of other people on the brink of a new chapter in my life.
Right, yeah.
But I'm not certain yet what that chapter is going to be. Mm-hmm. But I know it might not be this year, it might be next year, it might be the next year, but I know that I am going to be entering a new chapter in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I just have the sense that there's some other things I want to do, things I want to learn, and so I'm going to just step forward and start doing some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And, I always feel that if you just take that first step, things will unfold. And so I'm not sure exactly everything that will be in my next chapter, the things that will be in the next chapter of my life. But I think it was Martin Luther King that said, you don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step.
Right.
And so I just want to take a step and let things unfold and just watch how they unfold. So yeah, and I'm all, I think Dan, I'm always a person who is, I live my life very consciously. Mm-hmm. I'm always thinking and looking and learning, and so everything for me is just an opportunity for growth and for looking at what the next step is. But I feel that I've got some new things that I'm going to be experiencing, but I'm not certain all that they are yet. And so I'm just going to I'm not going to wait until I have it all figured out.
Right.
I'm just going to take one step and do a few different things and see what unfolds.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this sounds like an exciting journey. I need to spend more time with you, Linda Sauget. I need some Linda to rub off on me.
Well, I'd be glad to do that.
One of my biggest problems is, and it gets in my way a lot of times, is I have a tendency to look at a project or a thing or just anything. I have a tendency to look at the whole thing rather than breaking it down into bits and pieces that are much more manageable.
Yeah.
And as you said, don't look at the staircase, look at the first step.
Correct.
I have to always remind myself that all day, every day, throughout my day, because I have a tendency I can very easily get overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And I have to be careful of that because, things just unravel and there's so much unproductiveness that comes from that.
Correct.
So
I think that if you try to have your whole life figured out or your whole project or your whole job or your whole whatever figured out before you do it, you may never get through it. Do you know? I mean, you'll be able to do a lot less because you'll hold yourself back.
Absolutely. And then, when you hold yourself back, you get upset, you get depressed, and then, it just it turns into a vicious cycle.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
So
I will support you in just not knowing, but just doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And, do a part of your project. Start, because it's always less formidable once you actually get going.
That's true.
Something.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. If you just, and it is important for me to take those baby steps.
Yeah.
Just so that I don't get overwhelmed. Another thing is procrastination, because I have perfectionists are procrastinators because they, and I put things off because it has to be perfect before it's ready to go out. And you could put things off forever doing it that way. So that's another thing that I have to change about myself in 2017. Learn to let things go.
What I like about you, Dan, is you're self-aware.
Yeah. I am. I wasn't always that way. It was probably about maybe 4 or 5 years ago that I kind of found myself unemployed. Bill and I were both unemployed at the time. It was just a horrible, horrible time for us. And that was when I started to become very aware of what was happening with me. I found myself getting depressed and down in the dumps. And I thought, you know what? There's got to be more to things than this. And with the way I'm feeling, I certainly couldn't go on a job interview because it's what you project wouldn't be good for me. So I did a lot of soul searching. And a lot of the things that you talk about, that's one of the things that attracted me so much to you when we first met was you and I think similarly about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. We do.
It's perspective, and it's just all about, changing your mindset.
Mm-hmm. If
a given situation is not in your favor, you really have to turn your head and sort of look at it from a different angle because I believe there's good in everything. Mm-hmm. Whether or not it's outwardly apparent, you got to you do really have to look for the good in things, don't you? Or the lesson, right?
There's, no matter what terrible things are going on, mm-hmm. there's always something. There's always the seed of something better, whether mm-hmm. it's a lesson, whether it's a new door, whether it's a new attitude. There's always something to gain from every situation. Mm-hmm. And I think we have that same outlook. And it has to do with our attitudes and our outlook on life. And if people don't have that attitude or they don't have that outlook on life, maybe they're pessimistic or maybe they're in a rut, the thing that's so wonderful is you can change it.
You can.
Changing your attitude, changing your outlook
mm-hmm.
we can change the level of our optimism, the level of our happiness it's within our control without question. Now, people need to know how to do that.
Right.
And there's so many books on it and so many seminars and ways to learn these things that no one really has to be stuck in a situation.
Mm-hmm.
We have the power to change things. That doesn't mean that, every day of your life you're going to be skipping down the yellow brick road.
Right.
We're always going to encounter challenges and
Of course.
difficulties, but it's how do you move through them
Mm-hmm.
that makes the difference. And so you went through a very difficult time, and look at what has come out of it. So many good things in terms of learning about yourself,
Yeah.
ending up in a great job, in a great situation where you have so many, you're able to use all of your skills and develop new skills, and it's a creative outlet for you. And
Mm-hmm.
so you look what good came out of your unemployment.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, if you had asked me 10 years ago if I would be in the publishing business, I would have said, publishing what? I don't know the first thing about it. And yet here I am, and I'm loving it and enjoying it.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, you always have to look for, sometimes it sounds crazy to say because we do face challenges all the time, but I think there is a perfection in life. We are too close to it to see it. Like when you're having difficulty, physical difficulties, financial difficulties, I mean, some of the real hard problems in life, it's really hard to say, well, what could be good about this?
Mm-hmm.
But you need that perspective and that distance, and I think even just a little bit of faith, knowing that everything always does work out, that there is a silver lining in every cloud. But when you're in the middle of the cloud, you can't see what else could possibly come out of it that's good.
Right, absolutely. Well, Linda Sauget, my dear friend, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you today.
Oh,
and
fine.
we will talk soon, and I will be seeing you probably in a couple of weeks. And
I will be at the Boomer Expo,
Yay!
so I hope I've told everybody the date.
yes, January 24th.
And I will be there all day.
Yes, thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
Thanks so much, Linda.
Thank
it's been
you,
a pleasure.
Dan.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.